Hello, everyone. How are you? Good morning, good afternoon. I'm here with Claire. So, Claire, I was just watching you on Stephen J. James.
Oh, good. What
And
did you think?
yeah, it works. Thank you. I thought that, well, I don't think you should allow people to say that you want Islam for the West because what you're not exactly promoting Islam.
Well, I suppose indirectly I am, but technically it is secular Quranism, which is just a legal system, meaning that it's a rule system that doesn't require you to believe in anything. So you could be an atheist and support secular Quranism, but I guess you would only support it if you were interested in becoming a married parent and staying married to properly parent your legitimate offspring. But gay people could be interested, I suppose, if they thought, well, we're not having children, but we would like our civilization to continue, and we should therefore encourage others to have legitimate children if we can't do it ourselves. So that would be,
Well,
that might be a
okay.
reason for you guys doing it.
Oh no,
It's the
Claire.
least you can
Hey,
do. It's the
Claire. Oh
least
no,
you
we
can
are.
do.
Yeah, why can't I find this on YouTube? Why can't I? Can you find? Are you able to see this video on YouTube?
Let me see.
Because I'm trying to spread the link, but I can't see.
So you haven't gone live, or have you? I don't
I
know.
have gone live. It says end broadcast. I see it. Hold on. I don't see it to spread the link.
Yeah, my computer's just sort of slowed down, so I just have to wait for it to kind of recover itself.
Odd.
Yeah, I can't see it on. Maybe if I change accounts, maybe I'm just not
Oh,
subscribed.
oh, never mind. That should. Why would you have to subscribe to see the
Well,
video?
because I have two accounts. One is secular Quranism, one is Claire Khaw, and I may not be subscribed to you on my other channel because it's just a newly started up one.
Oh, okay. No, like I'm on my home and I went to videos and it's not showing.
Hmm. Sometimes there is a delay.
You think so?
But I'm checking, but my computer's slow, so every time I click a window, it just takes forever. So I can't tell you offhand at the moment. But
Do
if
you
it
need
says
a
live,
computer?
do I need a new computer? Probably, but I just haven't got around to it yet.
Mm-hmm. This is really, really odd. Let's try something else. Fine, let's try this. I bet this will work. Yes, I found it. I knew it was going to happen this way. Here, I'll send it to you. You can
Great.
spread it on your. Um... So anyway, we figured this out. So anyway, you were saying atheists can support secular Quranism and and these different kinds of things. But is that okay? Because people were saying that the Quran commands you to believe.
Well, I have my own rules of interpretation because on the one hand, there is a verse, chapter 2, verse 256, that says there is no compulsion in belief, truth stands clear from error, and I'm saying that this must have been the basis of the First Amendment.
I know, but
And
it doesn't the Quran also say to be a Muslim you have to believe?
yeah, but I mean, you can you can ignore that if you're not a Muslim, because you're not a Muslim, right?
Um,
So I mean, there's no way you can make people believe anyway if they don't want to. You can, yeah, force them and say, "I'll shoot you if you don't say you believe." But there's no point doing that, is there?
who
It's just
is
silly.
who is who is that white Muslim on Facebook that writes against you often and picks apart your arguments?
The white Muslim,
I think
is
he's
it?
British. He's a white Muslim. There's a picture of him. He went to Egypt. He's on a camel.
I don't remember any such person. So
Yeah,
is he on Facebook
he's
or
on Facebook.
Twitter?
He he he's on Facebook and he parses apart your arguments and makes them good. He says that you say that you follow the Quran, but you really don't, and you only follow whatever suits you. You don't follow the whole thing. That's what he said.
Well, that's what a lot of them who don't like it say, that I'm cherry picking. But I don't know who you mean. I
Yeah.
don't know who you mean. I can't find. I mean, it doesn't ring a bell with me. So you can't remember his name.
What I'm trying to figure out is why nobody likes talking to you.
Well, I've
Um,
just been on so many streams today. I've just been on Stephen J. James' stream. I've just talked to Daniel Sienkiewicz, and he doesn't really like me, but he talked to me for a while. And earlier I was on E.A. Dawa.
okay, but I mean, you know that you're like banned on so many channels. Like,
Well, the
I mean,
nationalists don't like me because they don't like me saying, you haven't got a religion, here's secular Quranism, why don't you take it? And they don't want it because they're Islamophobes. So that's why they don't want to talk to me. They don't want to talk about secular Quranism because they don't want to give it the oxygen of publicity. Doesn't
what
that make sense?
what Dawa channel were you on?
E.A. Dawa.
Are they traditionalist Muslims?
Well, it's a mixture because the person whose channel it is, an American called Khalil, was Catholic, and then he trained as a pastor, and then he gave it up for Islam. And he was in the military, I think he said. And well, he's got the time to do 9 hour streams, and it's still going. It's still going.
Mhm.
And I mean, they're quite open. I mean, they let most people in. They're quite good at enforcing discipline, and you know, so people like going on, and they're quite friendly and reasonable. So yeah, and long streams help people kind of feel that they're always there and they can go back. It's kind of more or less daily or nightly, I should say.
Did you excuse me, did you tweet out the links? Because we're low on viewers.
Okay. Oh yes, yes, I forgot about that. Uh, right. I will. Well, you didn't send me the link, did you? Have you
Yeah.
posted it on yours? Have you posted? You haven't even posted on your own timeline.
I put it in private chat. I have posted on my own timeline.
Oh, right, okay. I'm not looking at the right place then. Okay, here we go. You don't use Twitter then yourself?
No. Um, I mean, why he's like acting as though he's so confused about why you think he's like, so you've come to this conclusion that Islam is for Britain. Well, nearly 1 billion people have the same idea. So I don't know why they find you so, you know, I mean, I don't think they're even focusing in okay, I see not outrageous, but interesting or unique in that, well, you say Islam tolerates idolatry and blasphemy. Well, in Saudi Arabia, are you allowed to practice idolatry? You are allowed to practice idolatry in Saudi Arabia, right?
No, I don't think even churches are allowed. That's what I've
But
heard
you can
people complain
practice
of.
idolatry. You can practice idolatry.
I don't know offhand. I don't think so. They're quite strict on, lots of things. So I can't imagine there would be Hindu temples or Buddhist temples because I
I
know
know,
there are
but
not churches
if
there.
you're, I know, but I mean, there must be one there.
Maybe you can look it up
There
about
are Christian churches
religious
in
diversity in Saudi.
there are Christian churches in Saudi Arabia. Let's just say.
Really?
Let's say.
I mean, I remember this is one of the complaints when Christians say, "Oh, why aren't churches allowed in Saudi and all that?" Okay, I will try and get people to watch our stream.
Okay, let's
I think
say.
the
Are there
best way to do it is to just put it in direct messages.
okay, so it says there's 1 million Christians as well as Hindus and Buddhists. Okay. As no faith other than Islam is permitted to be practiced openly, no churches, temples, or other non-Muslim houses of worship are permitted in the country, although they're okay. So you're not allowed to have, let's see, Christianity in Saudi Arabia. Christians in Saudi Arabia are reported to face widespread discrimination, including both foreign-born Christians and native converts. But I don't think it's. I think of obviously you're allowed to practice Christianity, but it has to be in your home.
Mm-hmm. So there are no churches, are there?
I guess not openly. You can't practice any other religion openly. So, okay, wait. Would
But I
you?
mean, Saudi is the exception. They can do anything they like, basically, and even Muslims complain about them.
Well, okay, but um, well, I guess okay. Are they following the Noahide laws? Because I wonder. Because obviously you're allowed to believe in Jesus as God. You're allowed that, but it's just if you. Well, this is what the Noahides say. So you're allowed to think it. It's only if you say it out loud that it's a problem. But what they also say is you have to get caught. So basically, what they're saying is you could do it in privacy. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Um, is that might be? I mean, that might be Noah Hyde. I mean, I guess if they're not evangelizing or doing anything openly, then I don't know. Are you allowed to practice your own religion? They must not allow them to evangelize.
Well, so no open idolatry, no, people going to places where they bow before idols. I suppose that's the most obvious form of idolatry, idols.
So you wouldn't allow that?
I'd have to allow that.
Oh yeah, you would allow that. Well, that's going back to what makes you. But I was going to say what makes you different is okay. What about blasphemy? Because Pakistan has anti-blasphemy laws. I know who's that white Muslim woman that you talked to?
Oh yes, I'm Carol.
Carol.
Mm.
Um,
You've spoken to her, haven't you?
yes. She couldn't give me an answer. I'm like going, do you have a problem with this? Do you have a problem with that? Would you allow this? Would you allow that? And I was like, when I got to blasphemy, she's like, blasphemy? And she was like, well, I'd have to think about that one. So, what I think, is there any Muslim country where blasphemy is allowed?
Well, in Pakistan there are blasphemy laws, and but I've spoken to Pakistanis and saying, well, actually, that there's no blasphemy in Islam. It's we only have blasphemy laws because our British colonial masters made us have them. Um, and so that's why they have them. It's not part of Islamic law, but it was just part of the um, you know British law that they imposed on the Pakistanis. And we know Christianity has always been full of blasphemy laws. But we know that America has no blasphemy laws because America, rejected Christianity as an official state religion.
Correct.
So, and I'm saying the founding of America. I mean, America was founded on Islamic principles because it's the only religion with a holy book that guarantees freedom of belief, with Chapter 2, verse 256. And we know that the White House Quran belonged to Thomas Jefferson. And he bought 2 copies. He bought a copy of the Quran when he was a law student, and when his library burnt down, he bought another one.
I don't know why.
You don't know why? Well, I'm saying it must have meant something to him. He was kind of saying it's important. It's not just it's not one of those books that you buy and never read, or you read and forget about.
Right.
And I imagine it wasn't a cheap copy.
No, probably it was rare back in those days to find a Quran.
And he did this weird thing with the Jefferson Bible. I don't know if you're aware of that.
No.
It was Gandalf who told me about it. So basically, the Jefferson Bible is something that Jefferson basically just cut bits out of, and he cut the bits out that were the Pauline epistles, and on the basis that they were nothing to do with Jesus, and the only bits that he left were, I guess, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, reporting what Jesus said. And I haven't read it, to be honest, but I mean that was basically what he did to the Jefferson Bible, saying, all the other stuff that I've left out are extraneous and nothing to do with Jesus. But then, what you're left with is a very thin document, which is, I think, basically the story of Jesus and the Sermon on the Mount. And, no way is that enough to form the basis of any moral system.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no, the thing is, I don't know if you saw, I posted it on Facebook. I'm working with Judas Fly to collect all the Jewish reasoning as to why Christianity is idolatry. And I'm doing this because I want to accelerate this whole Noahidization. And I really want to go after Christians for being idol worshippers, because they went after everyone else for being idol worshippers. Meanwhile, they're nothing but like Judaism plus paganism. And you're right in that the reason Noahidism is going to win out is that it is a basis for a moral system, whereas Christianity is so vague in that area and wishy-washy and replacing the law with love and these things. People are going to grow tired of that. And that's my contention with secular Quranism, in that you're like, oh, well, people aren't ready to ban idolatry. People aren't ready to ban blasphemy. And like, okay, I don't see them being like, well, we want to go halfway, so let's adopt secular Quranism.
I'm saying it's the intermediate step, because I recognize that most Westerners are, well, not Muslim. They don't even believe in God.
But
And so this has to be, something, a talking point that begins the move towards Islam eventually.
What was I gonna say? That the way I see this going is that it's going to build, and global home is going to build and build and build and build and build, and the Christians are going to just become more and more and more and more and more and more desperate to end it. And I think they're not going to make a change until it's like absolutely excruciatingly painful for them to live, and then they'll make a move. And they're going to like swing the other way on the pendulum, and they're not going to want secular Quranism. They're going to want Noahidism.
Okay, we'll just have to see what actually happens. But in the meantime, I shall be promoting my integrated moral and legal political system.
Well, I think people, I don't know how other people view your system. Like, you don't lay it out on the line. You're not very like legalistic in that you're not explaining like, you usually are not like, oh, well, if this happens, then you would get this. And if this happens, you do in that, but it's not very in depth in that, you don't talk very much in depth about your legal system.
Because people never ask me. They never get that far.
Well, but why don't you just volunteer the information?
Well, I do sometimes, but when people are just sort of struggling to even understand the basic concept, and there's still, at this, oh, is it a legal system? You're trying to take God out of Islam, and stuff like that. Then I mean, if they don't understand the basics, then it'll be, there's no point going to the kind of harder bits. Because I mean, obviously, okay, the best person is somebody who's read the Quran, somebody who's legally trained, somebody who thinks, well, in such a situation, what would secular Quranism do? But I'm glad that recently more people are asking me this sort of question.
Well,
And
I do want to know what people's problem is with secular Quranism, and that, I'm thinking about it, and I don't see how, well, since it's secular, so I don't. Maybe it would be close to. You're saying it wouldn't be a democracy, right? It would be a one party,
It'd be a one-party state, yes.
but not a democracy.
No. Well, I mean, I'm in two minds about letting people vote because it kind of makes them happy, but but then the candidates would come from the same party.
Yeah, I know, but how does the I mean, how do they move up the ladder? I mean, if they're not being elected, what is it, like a kingship or like a fascist state, or what is it?
Well, it's a one-party state, and the moment you say one-party state, people will just call you a fascist because actually, fascism, Nazism, communism, um, stipulated a one-party state. But interestingly, George Washington said in his farewell speech that political parties would be bad for Americans, so don't have them. But his warnings were ignored. Have you read his farewell speech?
I do remember him being very much against political parties.
No, he said don't have them. He
I
said
know
don't
that
have
might
them.
be a little bit idealistic.
Well, China doesn't have them. But mind you, China says we have political parties now, and then the answer would be, oh yeah, but they just have to be dominated by the Chinese Communist Party. But I suppose China allows them, because it's like a kind of lobbying thing. Like, yeah, they kind of want to know what farmers think of their agricultural policy, and various business groups and academics that the government would have dealings with. So they kind of want them I imagine they would kind of want them in a convenient group so they can be contacted and stuff. But the CCP does dominate politics, and it is meant to. It's meant to, because I mean, how else are you going to run the country if you don't have an organization that is the government? So yeah, it would be a one-party state.
But what? So I know the. I mean, the Communist Chinese Party works on like a very like you have to take tests and yeah, a lot of it is like evaluation, and then you have to move up the ranks. And I mean, do they have voting in China?
They have at village level and at various levels, but but what they do is, once you get in the Chinese Communist Party, they'll send you here, there, and everywhere to govern, wherever, and then of course they'll evaluate, how you govern your, I don't know, your town, your city, your province, your major city, your major province, and then eventually, if you're lucky, you get to be, Xi Jinping.
Yeah.
But they're saying, to get there, you have 20 years of climbing up that political ladder. And in the meantime, you're just being trained. It's like a kind of corporate ladder. You get into this sort of multinational company, right at the bottom. And if you don't lose your job, they'll send, they'll keep promoting you. And then eventually you get to be chairman or whatever, president, CEO or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of system with a structured career ladder, and that video that you saw, that cartoon, was showing how unstructured Western political politicians are. They just sort of, they get lucky, they get chosen, and then they have lots of money, and
Well, they're elected. The people have to like them and trust them.
But I think increasingly the people are tired of democracy. I mean, imagine if you were an Israeli. I mean, what, 5 elections in 3 years? It would drive you crazy.
Why did they have 5 elections in 3 years?
Because they have these unstable coalitions. They hate each other, and then then one of them just says, "No, I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm not going to agree to this rubbish." And then they break the coalition, and that means they have to have another election. which is a crazy way of running things. But I mean, if anybody's sick and tired of elections, it must be the Israelis. 5 elections in 3 years? I mean, okay, they've had 4 in about 2 now, which is pretty bad.
Yeah, that is pretty bad. But what about people who say freedom is messy? What about people who that's their argument? Freedom is messy. Because, it is true that, I mean, you have homes that are very strict, not even morally or religiously, just strict military types of homes. And then you have more like lax homes. And I mean, these military homes, obviously, there's less freedom, but they don't necessarily produce better people. They don't necessarily militant homes don't necessarily outdo more lax homes in their outcome.
Well, I mean, I think we already know that if you want to predict the outcome of how a child does, is that fatherless homes definitely do worse because they become juvenile delinquents and then adult criminals and don't do terribly well at school. But people, growing up in 2-parent families, tend to do better. And the people who grow up in 2-parent families tend to have parents who are social conservatives, and social conservatives would be religious, and religious people would have a community, and they would have extended family, and a better sense of identity and group cohesion. While people growing up in fathers' homes will just not have those things.
Yes. But I do want to bring up, I hate seeing all these men always blaming the woman and being, single mother, single mother, single mother, single mothers. There's also like, single fathers. Obviously, if you have a single mother, you have a single father. And I'm sorry, I think most of the time the problem is the man. I think most of the time the person who leaves is the man. I think most of the reason for women always being, having custody is, first of all, a lot of times the man doesn't want custody. But secondly, she wins custody because the man was in the wrong. And so, like, I hate when they talk about single mothers because, this is also men's fault and nobody goes after them.
Well, generally, I think 40% of children born in America come from unmarried parents, which means that most of them would be in fatherless homes. So I'm afraid, okay, you control the problem at supply side, right? I mean, we've heard of supply side economics, and basically they're saying if you shame the woman won't sleep around, and the men who want to have sex with loose women would just wouldn't find any loose women to have sex with, and the problem is solved. But you can only deal with it from a supply side, or but obviously the man is culpable, but the thing is, a man can always skip town and escape the consequences, or the woman is always the one, getting knocked up and being the one left holding the baby.
No, I know. So, stop singling out single mothers and start talking about single fathers too, because they're messed up.
Why? I mean, it's messed up to sort of sleep around thinking, that the guy is going to marry you, or it doesn't matter if your kid doesn't have a father.
No, but the men like abandon, the woman and the child.
Yeah, but he never committed to her in the first place. It's only after the wedding
But if you have
ceremony.
a child, you have to not just expect the mother to just take care of the child. You have to expect the father to do it too.
Yeah, but the father will say, "Well, I never intended to have the child."
Neither did the mother.
Okay, then she shouldn't be, getting herself knocked up. She should be
Okay, so
using
then why? But
contraception.
no, but the father has to pay up.
Well, actually, I think the father should only pay up for. I mean, okay, a man should only be obliged to maintain his legitimate children.
That's horrible.
Well, why? I mean,
That's
marriage,
horrible.
married parents should be privileged because they assume a greater responsibility than
No, I'm
unmarried
sorry.
parents.
I'm sorry. If you knock a woman up, you're responsible for that child.
Oh, you can say that because you're gay, because you know it'll never happen to you.
No, that's not why. It's moral. It's a moral and ethical thing. You don't get a woman pregnant and then abandon the child. That's evil.
Well, she shouldn't allow herself to get pregnant. She shouldn't be
Well,
sleeping
you shouldn't have
around.
impregnated her.
Well, the culture is wrong then. If we have come to such a stage where we think it's all right to randomly have sex with people and then go, oops, I'm pregnant. And anyway, what's all that sex education for? That's been happening for so many decades. It obviously hasn't made an impression, or it's teaching them to do exactly the wrong thing.
They're having less children. Look, they're not having even the most loose woman doesn't have 8 children. Okay, like she doesn't. And so she's not outbreeding the women that are doing it right. And I think that that's the point.
What is the point? Sorry.
That people who are having illegitimate children, they're having fewer of them than they ever have before.
Well, they shouldn't be having any at all, and there should be a clear message sent to people thinking of becoming unmarried parents that they would be treated as a sex offender. That's what should happen. I mean, that's why I support secular Quranism, because of chapter 24, verse 2, that punishes fornicators with 100 lashes for. Yeah. So I'm going to make it like, well, every time you have illegitimate offspring, it's 100 lashes.
For the man too.
Yes.
So then why isn't he responsible for taking care of the child?
Because he never said he would look after them. So it's a woman who, unless she can say, "Oh, but I was raped," she would have to take full responsibility.
That's really messed up. I don't like that.
Well, it's clear anyway. It's very clear what's going to happen if you do this or that, and that's the important thing, about people knowing which side of the law they're on. Because otherwise, if you let random people have sex and then the taxpayer will pick up the tab, then you're just going to get more of these people doing that, and then there will be terrible people and disrupt classes and lower standards of education and behavior, and then become criminals of the future. So it should be discouraged very firmly. To protect your own society. Sometimes you just have to be cruel to be kind.
I think that what we need to do is, I mean, okay, I think the government should give out birth control for free. Or at least if you're dependent, you should get free birth control, and should be incentives for you to get birth control. And abortion, I maybe pay for abortion with taxpayer money, since
But okay, if you're going to pay for these people's abortions, you should make sure they're lashed 100 times and then give them their abortion. I think that's how it's done. And it has to be in a public place, maybe the local shopping mall or something, you know. And then people.
Local shopping mall?
Well, where else? You don't have village greens and town squares in America, do you? You just have shopping malls. Okay, you have Main Street. I don't know, do you maybe in the park or something, but the weather might not be good.
Why don't you just do it on camera and live stream it?
Okay, that'll do. All right. But I mean, it has more of an impact, if a child is saying, "Mommy, what's happening to that person?" And mother explains that these are sex offenders because they had children without being married, and we don't want that sort of thing.
But you
won't do that, will you?
Would you allow abortion?
But yeah, before they can have their abortion, and then they go and have their abortion if that's what they want, and if they if they can afford to pay for their own abortion, obviously they can have it without being lashed 100 times, and it's very easy to sort out, really. And then eventually people will think, oh, better not then, better not get knocked up, and at the moment enough women realize that they shouldn't have children without being married, then there will be, well, men won't lose women to have sex with and impregnate, and then they'll have to go to prostitutes if they want that sort of thing. And yes, under secular Quranism, brothels will be legal in red light districts.
I know, but the women have to be on birth control.
Well, yes. So nobody can have contraception, access to contraceptives unless they say that I'm a prostitute, or I'm a married mother and I have completed my family, and the number at which you are deemed to complete your family can be set by the government. And the government can say it's 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or more, and and then the government can easily control the birth rate of their nation. Simple, isn't it?
Well, I believe in using prostitution to keep the less desirable men out of marriage.
That's really mean. Just because you don't fancy them, Vincent, doesn't mean they're useless. If they're a bit shy, maybe they're talented but shy.
I didn't say useless. I said that they just should not be breeding.
Yeah, but yeah, I kind of know you're going to say, oh, if you're not sexy, I don't like you, I don't fancy you, I don't, then you won't. But maybe there are lots of plain people who are shy and aren't.
I know, but this is I'm not going to be in total control of everyone who's breeding in a polygamous system. It's not like I'm going to be able to hand pick who breeds and who doesn't breed. But the way I envision it is that you have these more polygamous families, and yes, they only let in the best, and then you have the rest that the polygamous families don't want to marry into, but you don't want them marrying each other because they're gonna breed an inferior race. So you make prostitution very cheap and very available, so that the men are less likely to get married. And I think that prostitutes should be actually almost even trained to
what?
I don't know what I'm saying. I never mind that. But that's how I say prostitution is eugenic. And
sorry, I don't understand what you mean by prostitution being eugenic.
In that it helps the lower classes of men not get married. You don't want. Okay, so the idea is that the polygamous families are the eugenic elite, and the only way you get into one of these families is that you're desirable and you get married into it. But on the outside, you have all the people that weren't selected, but you don't want them breeding with each other.
Well, I think you do need to produce the next generation.
Through the
It can't just
polygamous
be
family.
pretty attractive people.
Not just attractive.
Well, I kind of think you'll just take one look at them and you think, oh, you're ugly. I don't want to have sex with you, so you shouldn't breed. Because, well, I don't know. I mean, you're part of the culture of sex and beauty, aren't you? I mean, of youth and beauty, because being gay, I think gay men who are attractive get a lot of attention, but it's hard as men get older, because people don't. Well, older people aren't that sexy, and nobody wants to have sex with them, and then their value will be perceived to lower, and I think it's rather cruel, because we're more than just sort of being sexy.
I know, but no, what I mean, these families, they're all going to age together. I mean, it's a family. I mean, they're not going to just dump someone because they've grown old. I mean, I'm not suggesting anything like that. It doesn't need to be like that. You always envision it going down the most horrible road possible, it's always, it's going to end in child abuse, and it's going to end with old people being abandoned, and
I have to think about these things, because you're just going to assume everything's going to be fine, and why everything, I have to look on the downside.
Well,
you won't.
That's the only side you look on.
Well, we have to give a balanced view of our ideas.
Well, yeah, but I mean, when I critique secular Quranism, the only critique I have of it is it doesn't match the Noahide standards, and so it's not going to be, when the rubber band snaps back, it's going to snap back hard. It's not going to snap back to the middle ground of secular Quranism, and that's why I'm telling you, it won't even get off the ground. Look, secular Quranism is for mild times. Secular Quranism is for probably a society, for a society that had never gone too far in the other direction. But that's not going to happen in the world, because we are in an extreme time.
Yeah, which suggests that, well, I don't know, a lot of people call me an extremist and a fundamentalist and all kinds of names, because, well, a theocracy is pretty radical to liberal societies. Because what I'm proposing is the antithesis of what they've gotten used to. They're used to having children outside wedlock. They're used to having sex with, any consenting adult. So, they're pretty used to this idea by now, and any challenge to their supply of sex is going to end up upsetting them. I know. So apart from, the sort of usual cultural, ideological, political reasons for hating Islam and Muslims, there is this threat that, secular Quranism is going to poop their party.
Oh, wait, there's people commenting. I haven't even been noticing the comments. Is it all that woman?
Yeah. I mean, it says there's one person watching, but...
House of Comments is here.
Yeah.
What did he said?
Well, he said, let me know when something is happening. But I think they've all gone. Oh, no, there are 2 people watching now.
Stephen J. James saw you. Yes, it's another channel. It says only 2 people are watching, but Claire Khaw is Vincent's new manager. I don't think so.
Oh, House of Comments wonder what happened to my channel. It got taken down. Maoism, Chineseism. John Gonzalez, who I don't know, says, see, Iran. The Ayatollah approves candidates. Oh, the Ayatollah.
Well, I guess I'll just.
Me no love democracy long time. He's making fun of your ethnicity. Vincent Bruno does not have the balls to stress Claire. It takes a strong male to do that. This is just not boring with no one challenging her Chinese crackpot theories. Claire ping me when something happens. Well, I mean, well, okay. The only thing, it's not that I don't think that they actually have tons of legitimate arguments against it. I think it goes, it's not Islamophobia. It's like maybe they are scared of it, Claire.
Of course they are.
Maybe they are scared of it.
Because they have no arguments against it. Because they're always complaining, oh, those Muslims, oh, those Jews. And it's like, yeah, well, what have they got that you haven't got? Oh, religion. And then say, well, and all the problems they talk about would be solved. High crime, single mothers,
That woman says, I can get birth control over the counter here for 90% less than birth control prescription costs in the US. Is that true? She lives in Lebanon, right?
Yeah.
Can she really is that true?
I don't know. I don't live there, but I there's no reason to suppose that she's lying or mistaken.
Well, what do you think about that?
Well, that's okay. I don't mind people having access to contraception. I don't know how many children she has, but I assume that she's completed her family, and it's not my place to, well, tell her to have more.
Yeah. She said, yep, just walk into the pharmacy to get birth control. I mean, that's the way with low costs like that, it should be in America. Ideally, the idea was to use birth control to prevent abortion, that women would get abortions anyway when it was illegal. And so the idea was to get rid of that through birth control. That woman says she'll kill herself if she has another kid.
Oh dear. How many kids has she got? I don't even know.
I have 3. That's enough.
Yeah. Well, I think 3 is kind of fair enough. It's like, yeah, but we've managed to replace ourselves and one spare with one to spare. So. But yeah, I mean, you don't have to be straight to understand that's how we keep ourselves in existence, Bruno.
Well, I know, number one, gays, I mean, everyone likes to remind us that we're not that large of a population. And so we don't have that much of a impact on reproduction. But as you know, my plan is to get gays to become fanatical about reproduction and to do everything in their power to have a strong impact on the bloodlines of the human race. That's one of my agendas.
Mm-hmm. But it's going to be a bit difficult to organize because, people will just sort of not get you for years and years and years and years. They'll just not even understand the bare bones of your idea.
Well,
Isn't that true? People still don't know what they're still saying gay breeding farms and whatever they say.
well, I'm not going after the dissident right in this. Conops is here.
Oh.
Ask Conops if he wants to come on. I have a way of.
I'll give him the link, shall I?
Yeah. That woman says, why don't you gays find two lesbians to shack up with in a large two-family house and use turkey basters? Yeah, that's what I'm suggesting. I'm suggesting things like that to just kind of fanatically become breeders and gain control. If we have control over the next generation, what house they're bred in, then we have a lot more control in society, and society would open up a lot more for us. Let me go to the bathroom.
But I thought they were doing the sort of thing already. I mean, this turkey baster idea.
Not numbers. It's not like an explosion.
Well, I'm sure their numbers are increasing significantly now. But under secular Quranism, it would be banned.
Hold on.
Okay. Okay, I am posting it to Conops in Hangouts.
Yes, you said you would ban surrogacy.
Yes, and artificial insemination by donor. I would ban that too.
Why?
Because I don't want anybody not married having babies.
Claire, did you send Conops the link? He's asking for it.
Yes, I have. I just posted it on Hangouts. So he'll be here any minute now.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, I'm the opposite of that. I'm on the opposite side.
I wonder what he'll say. Will he agree with your plan or with mine?
Conops is weird. I don't know what his political position is. I mean,
he doesn't have a position. He's a nihilist.
Well, I mean, he obviously has some kind of issue with me being homosexual because he, at the very least laughs at other people's unkind comments, and I believe he's taken subtle jabs at me before. So I don't know what kind of liberal he could be.
Well, he's another Islamophobe, and he only comes here because he can't stand the liberalism of his friends. That's why he comes here. Same thing as Jay. They just have to, grin and bear it. In the
wait, Tama, 1 second. What's the sauce?
Lemon juice and sugar.
Okay.
A little bit of sugar.
Cooking.
Say it again.
Your husband is preparing something nice to eat, isn't he?
Yes, for himself, because if you remember,
you only have fruit.
Yeah, I'm only eating fruit. Conops is here. Hello.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Good. How are you?
What happened to your Last channel, Vincent.
It got taken down for hate speech.
Oh, why are you talking hate, Vince? What's going on?
I don't know what channel it was that they took. I don't know what video it was that got flagged.
Fascinating. Why don't you know? Don't they tell you?
I don't know, because at the time that I got the email, my email wasn't working. So, yeah, it wasn't working, so I didn't get it.
So you think you're being taken down for promoting incest or anti-Semitism?
No, I don't know what I was taken down for.
That's a shame. It's always good to know, right?
I don't know if they would go so far as to take me down for incest.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, it depends. Maybe could be some sensitivities there, right?
It's not actually illegal in many countries.
Is it not? Should be.
Yeah, I mean, if you look up incest on Wikipedia, you'd be appalled at how many countries it's actually legal.
Really?
Mm.
I thought it was mostly illegal in most countries, but I don't know. I'm not an expert when it comes to incest. It's not something I particularly look into.
Well, I only looked it up because Vincent kept going on about it, but there's an interesting table on Wikipedia about which countries say it's legal. You know, they kind of say it's okay if it's same-sex incest. So the idea is that it's all right if no pregnancy occurs, and we don't care what you do, as long as that there is no child produced as a result of the incestuous union. But I think it's a slippery slope.
No, I agree with you. I think incest is one of the cardinal taboos. There's a reason why, even in like chimpanzee groups or groups of lions, young males are taken out of the groups. They're sort of forced out. That's because of the incest taboo.
No, only a few of them are forced out, but one of them stays to practice polygamy and incest.
Is that true? Is that really true?
Yes, I mean, another foreign male doesn't come in and take control. I mean, one of the brothers takes control.
Yes, one of the brothers takes control, right? But he won't be fucking his own mother, would he?
His own sister.
I don't know. Like, I think there's probably a reason why young males in general are taken out of the group.
I know, but that's that's not. Well, if one is staying behind, then
no, but Vincent, that's not true. There's not one staying behind. All the males are generally taken out of the group.
By who?
By the biggest alpha male.
Yeah, who is one of the brothers.
Yes, but brothers come to a pride, they take it over. For example, with lions.
Not always. I mean, there's
incest. Well, almost always.
There's incest that goes on in these tribes.
I would say to a very limited extent. It would be much more the exception than the rule.
Wait, let's look this up. Hold on.
I posted the link on the legality of incest in various countries. I think you two will find it interesting and surprising.
There's also a reason, puberty. Yeah, the reason why, for example, a parent and a child can't really get on when they're like 13, 14, 15 is also because it is this movement to get away from the family. Otherwise, incest would happen. So it's sort of ingrained in our DNA to not have this taboo, or not to have this practice, let's say.
Okay, wait. Okay, where is this coming? Is this okay? This is from phys.org, like physics.org, which is not.
That sounds like a terribly reliable website, Vincent.
Okay, fine. I'll find a more reliable website.
What are you googling? Like some kind of
incest and lions.
Weblog or
Slate magazine.
Slate magazine. Well, I think that must be okay.
Okay.
I
this
mean,
one
why
is
not? Why not Google something? I mean, Wikipedia is pretty reliable.
not well. I didn't find anything with incest and lions, but I found something with incest. Hold on. Let me go through the.
Just write down the incest taboo, and then see what
I want
pops
to
up.
see. No, I want to see incest in nature because I've read about.
Yeah. In nature.
Okay, I want to find out one thing. You were insinuating that it doesn't happen in nature.
Well, no, I'm saying there is a strong tendency not to let it happen.
No, I mean, I think you want to believe that.
I mean, you have the occasional exception, yeah, but I would say in general, the reason why there's puberty, the reason why in general young males are being kicked out of the group is because nature doesn't want to have this incest. Because also, what happens with incestuous relationships, what kind of products they have. Usually, the propensity to have children with all sorts of defects is much higher.
Okay, here is this is interesting, very interesting. Among spotted salamanders, DNA analysis shows inbreeding at the level of first cousins on average, despite having hundreds of possible mates to choose from. Females tend to fertilize their eggs with sperm from related males.
Okay, well, that is a salamander. We are mammals. Maybe you should
Okay,
look something.
another study found that Japanese quail prefer cousins over brother. Wait, no, Japanese quail prefer first cousins over brothers and sisters and over less related birds. Let's see.
Okay, so not brothers and sisters then.
I
So
know,
do you
but they
have
prefer
do
cousin.
you have
They prefer
do you have-
cousin over less related. But let me keep looking.
Okay, well, so I mean, first cousin. What is a first cousin again?
Your aunt or uncle's child.
Yeah. Yeah, God, I used to have this with anthropology. I studied that on a Blue Monday.
Wait, okay. Beyond that range, there's evidence that inbreeding within the family has advantages. Let me just why? Okay, it's
Like what?
okay. The study found the greatest reproductive success among couples related at the level of third and fourth cousin. On average, these cousins produce more kids than less related and more related pairs.
Okay, so that is a fourth cousin.
Okay, I'm just looking. Okay, let me look a little bit more.
Yeah, so I think you have a couple of problems. Like of course, like fertility is actually, by the way, not a measure of success. So yes, of course, how closely related you are, generally how easy it is to have babies, but that doesn't mean you can't have a lot of defects of births. Like I mean, what tends to happen also, you see that with people closely related people and people who have sort of interbred for very long times, certain diseases are very prevalent. You see this with Ashkenazi Jews as well. So I just think it's generally quite unhealthy to have very sort of a narrow gene pool.
Okay, this is from The Conversation. But our recent study has called this assumption into question. We reviewed 40 years of scholarship on animal mate selection and found that animals don't tend to differentiate between relatives and non-relatives when choosing a mate.
So they don't. Well, how are the studies conducted, right? So, I mean, the fact that there is a biological sort of incentive to kick young males out.
Not always. Not all. I mean, only certain.
No, almost always. Okay, so what happens with young chimpanzee groups? They go in groups of males because they're kicked out of their families by the big alpha male. And the same happens with lions.
I know, but that doesn't mean every pride is taken over by some foreigner. I mean, you're just assuming that it can happen, so it happens in every single case, and there's never a brother that stands behind. It's always foreign DNA that's coming in, generation after generation. That's not the way it happened.
Well, it's not well, look, the way it doesn't definitely happen most of the time is that just a lion, a little cub, will just become big and then take over the pride immediately.
I don't know. You're not a zoologist, but neither am
No,
I.
because they're not strong enough. They're not strong. Well, I've seen plenty of documentaries. I love National Geographic. So so it tends to happen, of course. They don't have the power to challenge, or they sometimes try to challenge the alpha male in the group, but they mostly first time lose, and then when they lose, they are kicked out.
Hold on, I'm trying to. Well, this article is okay. I'm reading this article about how animals are incestuous. Which I mean, okay, you said you want to know how the studies were conducted, but I think it's pretty obvious when animals are incestuous.
No, look, there are a couple of problems. Look, if you just say, okay, so if you have you put random animals in a cage and you expect them to fuck, and if they're related, maybe then there wouldn't be such a difference. But normal in nature, there would be, because there is this tendency to kick young males out of the group,
which in no way necessarily negates incest.
Well, it makes it a lot less prevalent, wouldn't you say?
Okay, wait. They're relying on DNA to prove that there was incest. Well, the benefit include passing on genes more efficiently.
Can you not screen share this? I mean, I don't know. But maybe it's also just good to say it's just a bad idea to fuck your brother and sister. Just a bad idea.
Okay, actually, they say the models have concluded that tolerating inbreeding is the most successful strategy for animals to employ in their breeding. It's more energetically efficient in nature to mate with relatives than to have to go and find foreign DNA.
So where was this published? In which journal?
The Conversation.
That is not a journal, is it?
Well, I don't. Well, fine. I know, but the Conversation.
Then you have Nature, like something like that.
Okay, let's look at it. Okay,
like
Nature, let's look at it.
Nature or
Let's
Science or something like that. I don't want to ask you some kind of.
Okay, we're looking at it, you fucking idiot.
Take it easy, Vince. Come on. Take it easy. Take a chill pill, man.
50 times I was going to it. Okay, it's in Nature, Ecology, and Evolution.
I don't know that journal, but who knows?
I know. If you don't know it, if you didn't see it on National Geographic,
I'm not a biological scientist, so who
I know
knows?
you didn't see it on National Geographic, right? So that means it's the study's bullshit.
No, I said I wouldn't be able to judge if this.
Okay, well now you do know. So why don't you go find out?
Well, I'm on my phone. I'm not behind my computer.
You don't need to do it right now.
Particularly feel like it.
You don't need to do it right now.
Look. Don't you think, like, if you look at dogs, for example, all these dogs that are inbred too much, they have all these kinds of weird deformities.
That's because
some dog races that their brains are too large for their skulls and shit like this.
That's because of malbreeding. That's because nobody thought about how to breed animals intelligently. They just bred them to be sick and messed up.
Okay, so but that's sort of the situation, right?
No, I know, but if we were purposely breeding humans, you just wouldn't breed them that way.
Well, but we are purposely producing dogs, and I mean, isn't that
in a bad way? Well,
actually,
way.
What is the most successful dog? It's still sort of the wolf. Like, I mean, if you the wolf in nature, it's.
I know, but we're not wolves.
More healthy,
civilized.
We're healthy. It's quicker. It's smarter.
It can't live in a civilized area. Like, civilized humans should be bred, not we shouldn't be taking wild feral animals out of nature and letting them into our homes. If you want an animal in your home, you should breed it to be domesticated. And
that is true, but you know how many sacrifices you have to make, huh? So you are just presuming that if you breed something out there won't be a negative effect somewhere else.
Well,
so you just
there's
like
negative effects
DNA,
on
DNA,
random
DNA,
breeding.
DNA is interrelated. It's not like there's just one gene you can just switch off and on, and then you just take one just one aspect off. But most of the time, they are related to other functions. So I would say we don't know enough about the human condition to actually try and do something like that without taking huge risks.
I mean, we let people haphazardly breed, and that's created a dysgenic mess. I'm just saying that.
No, we are a very successful product of billions of years of evolution.
Well,
and you think you're
I'm
smart.
sorry.
You think you're smarter than that
Random
process, but you're not.
random haphazard marriage has not bred a super race, and it never will.
Have we ever bred a super race of animals?
Okay, what about this? NCBI. Hold on, let's see. NC National Library of Medicine. What about that? Incest isn't taboo in nature. Study. Avoiding inbreeding appears to be the expectation rather than the norm for animals, according to a new meta-analysis of experimental studies. But I'm sure you have something to question.
Okay, so it's the expectation rather than the norm. Did it say that? What does that
No,
mean?
animals are usually expected to avoid mating with relatives. Kin avoidance, as incestuous mating can lead to the expression of inbreed depression, yet theoretical. Hold on. Oh, there's lots of them. Ooh, there's lots of stuff on animal incest here. I'm going to look at this. Yet theoretical models predict that unbiased mating with regard to kinship should be common, and that under some conditions the inclusive fitness benefits associated with inbreeding can lead to a preference for
okay, stop. Theoretical models? Why don't they talk about practice here?
Okay.
That is interesting.
Conops, animals are inbreeding.
They
I don't care about the rest of it. They're inbreeding. I don't care about whose model.
Just say that sentence that you said again. You said why are they talking about theoretical models?
Theoretical models predict that unbiased mating with regards to kinship should be common, and that under some conditions the inclusive fitness benefits associated with inbreeding can even lead to a preference for mating with kin. This mismatch between empirical and theoretical expectation generates uncertainty as the prevalence of inbreeding avoidance in animals.
Wow.
Uncertainty as
That's
to
a mouthful. Do you understand what it says, Vince?
A little bit. Wait, hold on. So why do they title these things with evidence for frequent incest and cooperative breeding in mammals? Okay, wait, let's go to the one.
Sweetheart, I have to jump out and jump in again because my phone just sometimes does weird when it is.
Okay, well, I'll read this article and see what it says about incest.
All right. I'll be back soon.
Did Conops just call you sweetheart?
I don't know. Well, okay, even look, I'm talking about breeding types of humans, and this is how you do it. And you can avoid problems. You can avoid problems if you breed them properly. Don't breed them the way people breed dogs stupidly.
How do you breed dogs stupidly?
By making them too big for their hips and their brains too big for their skulls and their snouts too short and all this stuff, and their ears too floppy and their tails too stringy.
So how should humans breed humans?
Well, I'm saying it would be up to these kind of like family clans to breed whatever they were looking for.
They probably don't think of it as such. They'll be thinking, well, if I fall in love, then I'll want to be having.
I know. Well, I'm not talking about this for everyone, but I'm just saying, I'm not talking about this for everyone. Unfortunately, most people want to fall in love, but if you want selective breeding, then
So who would you choose, Vincent?
I mean, oh, like a famous person?
Well, but any person is like, well, who would you want to breed with?
Well, obviously, an intelligent and capable and accomplished and attractive person.
Okay, can you name a female that satisfies these conditions?
Well, maybe not by name, but I'm sure like there's athletes and scientists and people who are very successful and very healthy and energetic and intelligent, all this kind of.
But she might say, I don't want to have your babies.
Well, then that's my problem.
Okay. So where would you go about? So you basically, you'd have to go and look for her. Where would you look for her on Tinder? Or?
Well, I think that you just have to get this idea big enough, and then I've been telling you that you have to make eugenics a cult. You have to make this a cult. It can't. People are not going to do this if it's not a cult that they're following. No, people are not going to like give up love marriage for breeding. I mean, but I'm not even saying give up love marriage. I'm just saying extend your family, and not not everyone needs to be having sex with each other. I mean, you could have one man and he's with another man and another woman, but the other man and the other woman are having sex with each other. They're not linked. It's just linking yourself to more people for more power.
An exclusive breeding club.
Yes.
So you'd have to form a club, I guess.
A cult.
A club. You'd have to, find people who like that sort of idea. I can't imagine that you'd find many people prepared to join this club. Because, okay, you might find a few and they go look around and, oh, it's nobody I want to have sex with or have children with. And that will be the end of your idea. It's possible.
Well, we have to see. I mean, we haven't seen secular Quranism yet, have we? We have to see.
Fortunately, everybody has to have sex with each other.
Hold on, Conops is back. Okay, Conops, fine. You're right. There's not that much inbreeding in animals, but there's inbreeding when you're trying to produce breeds of humans, and that's what I'm trying to do. And if you guide it properly without focusing on stupid things like I want long legs and a small head, I want a big shoulders but small hips. Like if you don't do stuff like that, then you can be very successful in creating standardized breeds of human beings.
Yeah, I'm very skeptical of that. And for the reasons I mentioned, it's not just you can turn one gene off and on and it doesn't have any effect on other genes. It's not how it works. So we know this by our extensive interbreeding with, for example, our very close cousins, the Neanderthals and the Denisovans, that we had interbreedings with. I don't know how long ago, roughly 40,000, 60,000 years ago. And it actually has some positive effects, but also had some very adverse effects as well, for diseases, stuff like this. So it's not just one gene off, and then it doesn't affect on the other yeah, on any other genes. So I don't think you can just easily select them
No, but
out.
okay. You can't select everything, but you can select a lot.
I don't think we're there yet, and I even if we were there,
We've been selective breeding animals for centuries. It's not that hard.
yeah, but these had adverse effects as well.
Because they were bred stupidly.
Yes, but you haven't given me one great example of something that has been bred very successfully.
Well, there's race horses that have been bred successfully.
Yeah, but do you think they can stand up to nature, and do you think they can just
But we
do
don't
everything they
live
want
in
to do?
nature.
They're very good. They're very good at racing, but
We don't
they
live
might
in
not be very good at
nature.
other things.
We don't. The point is, we don't live in nature.
Well, you do have to survive in a very complex society, and then just
Well,
breeding
then you
something.
breed some people to be very rugged, and you breed some to be delicate, and you breed.
Did you just pick up Brave New World and thought, hey, this is a good idea?
I never read it.
You've never read it? What? it sounds like your ideal society. It sounds like a nightmare to me.
Well, the government isn't doing all of this.
No, but would you think it's a good idea? Do you want to be an Epsilon?
What's
Do you
an
want to
epsilon?
Do you want to be an Epsilon, Vincent?
What's an epsilon?
I think that they were the lowest on the food chain, weren't they?
Well, why
Claire?
would you breed? Why would you breed low people?
Well, they could
No,
do the
that's
work,
the
right? They
the
could do the
government.
work. Who has
No, I'm
to?
saying the families choose. This is not some government breeding the population and breeding epsilons. These are families that are breeding for their own gain and for their own well-being.
Okay, so what makes you think that families wouldn't do that? What makes you think that an elite wouldn't be so cynical as to try and breed its I don't know, like its grouping, and then make sure that the breeding for the other people are manipulated so they have people to take care of them?
Okay, well, we already have that.
No, because they're not breeding.
No,
They're not breeding.
we already have the problem where the rich elite like overpower and do things, to the poor.
Yeah, but these people are not bred, and at least it's a bit of a, how would you say, meritocracy still. So you can either rise or decline in these ladders.
Well, I mean,
What you're
where
now
would these
suggesting is some kind of genetic stratification.
where would these people get the power to force people to breed with each other? This isn't the government. This is individuals living in a democracy. Other than kidnapping people and forcing them to breed in secret in a dungeon, there's really no way to create what you're saying.
Yeah, but like a genetic system that you're proposing, or if you want to let the state do it, what
I
makes you
said
think there'll
not the
be?
state.
Okay, well, you just see that like people will do it randomly. Well, then it just means that people who have a lot of wealth and a lot of power will make their children very smart. And
Yes, good.
if you're right about this, that it doesn't have any adverse effect, this will be a major problem, very much bigger than our current problems with religion or race or whatever. Like
What's
people
wrong with
abuse.
the elite breeding? What's
Well,
wrong
the
with the
problem
elite
is that
breeding
not everybody
intelligent
will have these.
children?
Well, the problem is that not everybody will have these tools, and they will get very resentful. And how can you remain in a democracy if you have these different kind of genetic stratifications?
Well, you have to push the jealous people out of the way,
Okay, so
and
you have to deport them. What are you going to do with
not
them?
deport them. You have to socially get rid of them, and you have to.
How do you How do you socially get rid of people?
Well, you use your superior intelligence to take over the culture, and you breed faster than they do because you're focused on breeding. Breed faster than they do. Make freely available birth control and abortion so that the troglodytes don't breed too fast, and you make these plants breed much faster and take control.
Yeah, but I mean, people will understand what your plan is about, right? And
And they're not
they
going
won't like it.
to.
They won't like it. And
People are
I
not
mean,
going to give
this
up.
is basically what you're talking about. Is just displacing people and their way of life.
birth control and abortion is not something that people are going to give up. It's too convenient. People don't want to have 10 kids. People want 2, 3 kids. That's it.
Yeah. So, but how does that breeding system for you change anything then? I mean, that
Because the
just shows
people
it's ineffective.
the resentful people, they're breeding less while we're breeding more. So eventually the scales are going to tip.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm not so sure that that's gonna happen, and even if it does, you might get some like really autistic people that don't have any social skills,
Well,
but
you don't
really
breed
are really
like
good at
that.
math or something like
You
this.
don't breed for autism, or if you do, not like heavy autism like that.
Yeah, but you can't just like breed for any single quality without
Well,
having
you can, yeah,
adverse
not
effect on
anyone.
something else.
Yeah, no, you can breed for certain mentalities and physical abilities and things like that,
So,
and
so, so actually, your sort of your issue is actually with our human nature. You don't like it, and you want to change it.
no, I wanna expand its diversity and make it more divergent, but also allow us to evolve in ways that will make us more adaptable to civilization and nature.
Well, we're not more adaptable. We're like the reason why Homo sapiens is being successful is because we were so adaptable because we can do so many things. What you're trying to do is get us to some kind of societal niche, which will make us very vulnerable to any sort of environmental impact or whatever, because you've bred people into specializations.
Well, not everyone needs
But
to be bred.
specializing, like specialists, often die off. Die off. You see that in the animal kingdom as well. When their prey is not there anymore, they don't have the flexibility.
I think that you're bringing it a little too far, and also not everyone needs to be bred with this. But I mean, I really don't think you can. I mean, you could breed a rugged race of men who are nature lovers who live in tents. I mean, you could have it so that you have men that live on the land for no other purpose than to get the genes of the one that was the most successfully living there. So I don't see, yeah, there's ways around your problem.
I'm not so sure there is. I mean, even if you have, well, for example, you breed people to be a certain kind of way, right? So you want these you, you want these rugged men or something like that. Well, maybe they are sociopathic. Have
Not
you ever
that
thought
that doesn't
about this?
matter. They
Like,
don't all need to be. I mean, they might be, they might not be, but you breed. I mean, maybe you want sociopathy. I mean, I think we want psychosis, psychopathy, schizophrenia, bipolar. I think that these people actually, in a lot of ways, help society. But I mean,
well, the problem is you're going to breed them in such an amount that there might be more than we can handle.
well, you don't do it. Just don't do it that way.
Yeah, but
And
you can say that, but you don't have any knowledge how this breeding system is gonna work out in the end. You know.
Well, look, we have tons of problems with haphazard breeding, so I'm not really worried about the problems that will come out of.
I don't see any problem with haphazard breeding. What's the problem?
Well, it has not created an intelligent, healthy, beautiful race.
Race? What do you mean race?
A
Which
human
race?
race.
A human
Human
race.
race.
Well, I think yeah, humans can be very nice and intelligent and interesting, and I think our
Very few. Very,
100 years of 100,000 years of success on the planet
very
says
few. Very
says enough.
few. Very few humans are great.
No, humans are not great as individuals. We are a group animal.
I know.
And
Well, no, but the group is made up of individuals.
well, that is true, but the individual can only access in a group. So it's not that people just thought of brilliant ideas. No, this was cumulative. This was over
Yeah,
the
and look at
ages. People learned from each other, and then they became smart enough to do certain things.
yeah.
But actually, the reason why we're actually smart as humans because we are learning from each other. We're social animals. You can see that also with well, if you take the bonobo or the chimpanzees, bonobos can do many tasks that chimpanzees can't, and that is because bonobos are a way more social being than chimpanzees.
okay, you know what, Conops, you're right. The individual IQ doesn't matter in like group, group competition or group eventuality. Like, doesn't matter if everyone's bred to have high IQs or random haphazard breeding brings in low IQs. You're so right. It doesn't affect the group strategy like at all.
Well, I mean, what do you mean? Like bred smartly? I don't know. There's
Bred
also
to be intelligent. If you breed to raise IQ, you're going to change the color of society.
you're gonna change the color of society. I don't know what you're meaning by that.
The way the society functions and the heights it reaches and the culture it produces.
Well, I'm not 100% sure that it is so easy. I think everything is a delicate balance. You need social individuals. You can't just have people who are either selfish or people who are focusing only on mathematical problems or whatever. I don't think that's so
But
easy. I think
this
also
is not for
you
everyone.
need people to do the plumbing as well.
I've also said this is not for everyone. This is for a small group of people that want to practice eugenics and gain power. This is not for you.
Yeah,
This
but
is not for
no,
Claire.
whoa! You're saying they want to grab power. I mean, then
Yeah.
it is for everybody, isn't it?
It's not for everyone. This breeding program is not for, and it's power in a democracy, not power like tyranny, like democratic social power. That's the type of power I'm talking about.
Okay, so but you're saying okay, so it's not for everybody, but this elect few or these few people that are so smart and their descendants and their group of small eugenically bred incestuous people, um, they will have to control power in a democratic system, but then every other person has to suffer for it. I don't think that's entirely
Suffering?
fair. Do you?
Why are they suffering? What's happening to them that they're suffering?
Well, maybe because they're being controlled.
No, no, I'm sorry. What? Because we were more efficient and we gained control of like the media and gained control of Hollywood and gained control of the medical industry and like all these things, like just because we're superior. That's why we gained control, but we're not necessarily doing anything to harm other people. It's better that society is controlled by more intelligent people that have been selectively bred to do so.
I think it's hilarious, Vincent, that you always talk about also the Jews and the Noahites and their cynical plan. And look where you are now. You're just projecting, man.
Well, I've always said the opposite.
You sound like the people you criticize.
Well, but I don't have like I'm not going to be killing anyone.
Well, you said we were going to be bred out of existence or marginalized. Yeah, that's basically what
Well,
you're
I
saying.
know, but in a democracy, and I see that as totally fair. Someone outbreeds you and is more intelligent than you in a democracy, and they win out. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, well, I also just don't see it happening. I have to say, Vincent, I don't think there are lots of takers for this sort of
I didn't
what
say
was it
there's lots of takers.
eugenic incestuous cult.
I didn't say there's lots of takers. I said it's for few people.
Yeah, but I mean, you have to have enough people to be enthusiastic about this cult.
Well, enough. Yeah, I need
Maybe you have to start a new religion or something like that.
I don't. It's not a new religion. I'm using
No,
that
well,
beyond this
I
religion.
doubt people just want to start doing this kind of stuff. What are you going to give them? You have to give them, I think, a lot of money to be incestuous.
No,
I don't think
it's never been suggested before.
Yeah, well, this is what a lot of people say also in mental hospitals. It's never been suggested. Maybe probably because
Yeah,
it was a
I
dumb
know,
idea.
but this isn't some kind of schizophrenic, psychotic episode. This is just a theory.
Well, I don't know. I think it's a theory that you won't win many souls with, unfortunately, or fortunately, I have to say, actually.
Okay, well,
What do you think, Claire? What do you think? What do you think? Is Bruno gonna make it?
are you there, Claire?
I think it's a bit high maintenance, to be honest.
I'll be right back.
So yeah,
Don't you?
he wants to.
It's very hard. We're
Yeah.
still trying to get our heads around the rules.
Yeah. Yeah,
And,
it sounds a bit. I mean, it sounds a bit weird. Like you have to have all these like babies into incubators and some kind of eugenic, gay, incestuous grow farm. I mean, it takes a lot of work. You can also just knock a woman up and make her pregnant, and then you have babies.
yeah, and you either pump and dump her, or you stay around and take an interest in your offspring, and yeah, that's kind of simpler.
Sounds so vulgar, pump and dump, Claire.
Well, I think the problem in the West is that a lot of children are growing up in fatherless homes, and that's why they're so crazy and stupid, and you can't reason for them.
I don't think people are bred sort of stupid. I think people usually are socialized stupid. I think that's what's going wrong.
Well, you're saying. I mean, we're all saying that we don't like what people are indoctrinated with these days. I mean, that's what I guess Americans and well, anybody with children do, who object to the transgender agenda are objecting to. We don't want primary school children to be told that it's an acceptable lifestyle option to masquerade as a member of the opposite sex.
Well, too bad, because that's what's happening.
So, and the problem is that, you know, they're getting away with it because hardly any Western man is a married father. Because if most Western men were married fathers, this wouldn't be happening at all.
I don't think that's it, Claire. I think it's just the newest trend, the newest hype that has been, has captivated the mind of the left wing intelligentsia. That's how it goes. And they have all these new ideas, and then people have to suffer for them for a time. But you see, there is some pushback. For example, even like in very liberal countries like Sweden and Denmark, they have stopped the supply of puberty blockers, for example. So actually, in some of these countries that you associate with the high diet of liberalism, they've actually cracked down upon a lot of these practices.
Oh, that's good to hear. So, what Denmark and Sweden, they stopped giving as much puberty blockers to
No.
children.
I think it's forbidden now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So people are reacting against it.
Yeah, I would say so, and I think it's much more sensible to talk about things like that. You know, like to be somewhere in the middle where you can actually convince people and not have ideas that are high in the sky that will never be realized. Politics are, per definition, practical.
Well, I intend to be practical, and I'm saying, you know, that is a problem. That the reason why they're getting away with so much is because most men are not married fathers with young children in primary schools. So that's why, you know, there is no resistance, because it's mostly unmarried mothers who don't care about these things.
I don't think that unmarried mothers necessarily don't care about their children being on not being on puberty blockers and stuff like this. I think actually that might be concern for them too. I don't think it has much to do with that. I just think it's the newest hype that's been taken over by the elites, and they're all big fans of a new idea, even though it doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's still sort of the culture, you know. People are by nature very sociable and very malleable.
Do you discuss this thing with your associates, your colleagues? What is the average Dutch view about these matters?
Well, it sort of depends who you talk to, you know. I think most people think it's a bad idea. There are some people who think it's a good idea.
Well, parents are more likely to think it's a bad idea.
No, I don't think it's just parents, you know. It's a bit like this is coming from the universities in America, like sort of most of our mental illnesses for the last 40 years, I would say. I think it's probably a much better idea to insulate ourselves culturally from what is coming from American academia. And also what's actually coming from the American right as well. I mean, the whole alt-right thing, all this sort of rehabilitation of neo-Nazism also came from America. It's a very diseased society. It is a very divided society. It's not the society that we should take our cues from right now.
But we're all under the American empire.
Well, no, we're under their cultural hegemony. It's something else, which is a problem. You can just fix it by closing yourself much more. Don't focus as much on the English language. Maybe people should speak a great less English, or they should be much more proficient in their own language, and maybe they can speak some French or German instead of English.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would help. I think
Yeah,
that would
yeah,
really
I was
help.
thinking that too.
Yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, that's what I would like to do, is to isolate ourselves culturally a bit more, so that all these sort of intellectual trends take much longer to come to different places. So it's less global.
But what would the Anglo-Saxons be expected to do?
Well, they're fucked. I'm sorry. I can't help you.
Well, I mean, the
I
obvious
don't know
thing
what
to
to
do
do.
is to reject it. But the problem with these Anglo-Saxon men in Britain and America being unable to do it is it's because that most of these men are not young and they are not married fathers with primary school children. And that's why so many people don't care.
Well, I think it has to do with a lot of other things, also because the culture that is being consumed is primarily American TV. It's primarily sort of the ethics, the morals of the social elite in America, and I think the social elite in America has lost its way. I think
Yeah,
that's
they
the
should be
problem.
called out. But people
Oh yeah,
are...
but I don't think you'll achieve much by that. I think it's much better to be ignored, and we need to find ways to make things less international, to make the global webs of communication less strong, to actually sever many of these connections. And I still like
yeah.
Sorry, I still like a lot of traveling and going about and being international, but I think it might be too much at the moment. Also global finance and everything, like you can divide this up, but you need to be practical. There's no point in shouting people down or constantly saying, "Oh, these terrible Americans." Maybe it's just time to for Britain, for France, for Germany to take their own plan, to focus on their own culture, their own music, and start producing again.
But the poodles of Uncle Sam, and I suppose we just need to break up the American empire, because that I mean, they are its source. Global Homo comes from America.
Yeah, I don't like to talk about in these terms like global homo. It's a bit strange. It's not actually what is going on. It is the elite sensitivities of American elites, educated people that are being introduced to other countries. And
But Holland is actually quite liberal.
But they're perfect remedies for this, which
Such
is
as?
just cultural isolation. And you can pretty much still work in the political system that we have now. Even NATO and everything, it's not that much interrelated. So you see, I mean, Viktor Orban doesn't care. The Czech Republic doesn't care so much. Well, Poland, even though they're very pro-NATO, they're still very traditional society. So I don't know. I don't think you need to break up the American empire, whatever it is, to isolate yourself a bit more culturally.
Well, I mean, perhaps it's not fair just to blame the Americans. We know that Holland is quite liberal. Isn't
Yeah, but
it?
there's nothing
on
wrong
sexual
with
matters.
Dutch. There's
Dutch
nothing
are.
wrong with Dutch liberalism for the Dutch. Just that, like, there's nothing wrong with the French morals for the French. But I think people have the right to their own culture, And it also shows you all the beautiful diversity you have in beautiful Europe. And I don't want it to be completely homogenized.
But the main thing that has undermined the national identities of all these European countries is the fact that it is feminism, I think, because once you hand power over to women, they don't quite perceive the problems in such direct terms as men. They don't really get it. They assume they will be protected while they um, take away the protection, the status of their own men.
Yeah,
To
you have to be so much more nuanced about this thing. I mean, you have followed the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial.
Well, not at any great depth, but well, I know that he won, but she's appealing, right?
Yes, but if you look at the court of public opinion and what even women say, women who are very emancipated, they're not. I don't know, like they can look at things in a fair way most of the time. I know some individuals who are, how would you say, hyper feminist and who would not be able to look things in an objective manner. But for most people, they see what's going on. That we have to be fair to women and men alike. So I don't think it's a women problem at all.
Do you know the percentage of illegitimacy in your country?
No, but I don't think they're always particularly relevant, because illegitimacy just counts even men and women who are in a registered partnership and have been together for a very long time and have children. So it is. I don't think it's by itself it's a relevant statistic always. Yeah.
Well, but this is a trend that is all over the West. It's not just America. I mean, I think Britain is the worst because it's over 50% in the UK. So I was just a little curious about what it is in yours, but I think the trend overall is that it is rising, and I think that's another indicator of why things are so in such moral confusion.
I don't think we're actually in a lot of moral confusion socially in that respect. I think a lot of families just pick up, sometimes people divorce and then they marry somebody else. Yes, it's a problem, but, what are you going to do? You want to prevent people from, I don't know, starting a new family? Unless,
No.
like if they deal with the children respectfully and if they make sure that maybe abstain from divorcing before the children get old. I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just once the principle of getting married before you have children go, then that you will be on the slippery slide to widespread illegitimacy, leading to all the problems that we have now.
No, well, I don't think all the problems are interrelated necessarily, and I don't think they have to do with the fact that people marry less, and that's also true. I mean, people do the marriage ceremony less, but that doesn't mean they don't have committed relationships. So you have to look at that statistic as well. So people who don't marry but have very long-term stable relationships, I think it's a bit strange that you're not focusing on that as well. So if you're just looking at the illegitimacy rate, yeah, my brother is not. Well, my brother is not married, but he has 3 children, and he has a very long-term girlfriend. So I mean,
but I think it is statistically true that people who are not married tend to suffer a greater likelihood of relationship breakup. But that's all I'm saying. It's just statistically more likely.
no, yeah, maybe a tiny bit, but what can you do? I don't think it's the biggest problem in the world.
You repent.
And I don't necessarily think
What's
that
the word of repent in Dutch? Repent, remorse.
Spijt.
Oh, how do you spell it?
SPIJD or T? I don't know. I'm dyslexic.
Okay. Spaz. It sounded like
Spijt.
spaz.
But anyway, so I think that it would be good for people to have a bit more committed relationships. It would be good for children, but it's not all a disaster. It's not like what you're saying that criminality will be just going up the roof, because of more illegitimacy. I think the statistical relation is not, or the causal relationship is at least debatable.
You and your words of prevarication.
That's just such a beautiful word. What does it mean? I am not a native English speaker, as you know. Prevarication?
Well, you muddy the waters, you qualify words.
Well, you always need to qualify, right? What you're exactly talking about. Because
Well,
otherwise,
you
you
kind
throw
of sort of
everything,
doing a
throw everything
Duvet
under
thing.
one rubric, and actually, it's not really fitting.
Well, it's sort of like Duvet's multiple truth hypothesis. He likes having it both ways.
No, I don't like to have it both ways. I just want to see, what how statistically relevant the relationship is between out of wedlock children and criminality. And I think there are whole lots of factors involved, like, for example, that people who have not very committed relationships, for example, or are not married, also have other problems. But that's not because they're not married, but because they have other problems. That's why they don't get married. So it's a bit of a chicken and egg thing,
Barao is a word, apparently. Are you familiar with it?
Huh?
Barao.
But yeah.
Yes,
That's also
that's repentance, isn't it? Mhm.
fascinating.
Yes.
Fascinating. I saw actually Vincent talking to OV. Is it true that that you're okay with having a one night stand with OV, Vincent?
Well, I mean, well, obviously not now. He's kicked off my screen, my streams. He's not allowed on.
It could be punishment sex.
No, Opie's not allowed on my streams.
What did he do?
He used the N word, so he does it all the time. He uses words that would make the stream have to be taken down, and then he started making fun of my husband.
Yeah, I saw a bit of the stream. I have to say, I thought it was quite funny, to be honest. But yeah, but before that, you said like you could do him for a night, right?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, he wasn't unattractive. He
Oh, he
wasn't
sucks.
unattractive. He wasn't
But
hot.
he must have he has a bit of a puffy face. I don't know. I mean, the guy is not doing very good, right? I mean, but I don't know what your standards are, Vincent.
They're not that high.
Yeah.
You take what?
Are you still going to be a porn actor, Vincent?
What?
Are you still going to be a porn actor?
No, I can't do porn. I'm too old to do porn.
Oh.
I'm glad you're not doing it. I don't want to see you degraded, Vincent.
Degrading? I'd love to do it. I'm going to get revenge because I should have done it when I was young, but I was hesitant because of all the social stigma and stuff like that. So now I'm going to legalize public pornography as revenge.
It seems a bit like your whole ideology is some kind of revenge strategy against the 7-day advantage that you were you not like
Jehovah's
7-day
Witness.
Adventist or Jehovah's Witness that you've been growing up in? But I know revenge fantasies are often sort of bad policy, isn't it?
I want a revenge for a lot of things.
So what do you want revenge for?
Huh?
What do you want revenge for?
Oh, I want revenge against homophobes. I want revenge against sexually prudent people that fucked up the society. anyone who made this culture, what?
And remains against all the religions for lying to us.
But by the way, I have to pop out for just a tiny bit. I see that my connection is fucking up again. So I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Yeah, it was quite bad.
Actually, Claire, I might end the stream because I'm gonna get going soon.
Okay.
So thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
I don't know where I left.